What's going on, guys? This is Empty Box, and it's time to take another look at Automobilista 2 with a more review style video. Last time I did one of these was like a year ago-ish, more or less, and Automobilista 2 was in beta. Automobilista 2 is no longer in beta, although I view it as beta. I play the beta version of the game, and only the beta version of the game. That's the one that Breeze Studios updates more frequently with more tweaks and tuning and stuff like that. But it's not beta. This isn't going to affect anything I'm going to say in this video, but for those of you guys out there who are more adverse to tweaking and tuning and things like that, and, you know, having problems with the game not working for one reason or another, understand this before you go on into this game if you so choose. As I always like to do with these videos, the short review up here, because I understand this video will be far too long. Automobilista 2 has become my preferred offline racing sim because it offers the most overall compelling package to me on the market currently. It has a wide variety of all of the features that you want, a huge variety of content, as well as the fact that it works better than a lot of other racing sims out there on the market with less tweaking, and I spend more time racing, which is what I'm looking for. Now, if you're one of those people that is super hugely concerned about absolutely perfect physics behavior, yeah, there's still work to be done on that front. This game will probably drive you crazy in some ways. If you're one of those people who absolutely must have mods because modding is something that you enjoy, this platform will probably never really do it for you. If you're one of those people that expects the game to just work all of the time, regardless, this game is not going to do it for you because there's just too many things going on at one time for that to actually happen. You're much better off with a game that has a much more limited selection of content to go with it because, hey, that's what happens when they can just develop one set of cars. And if you're one of those people that likes online racing, well, Automobilista 2, like Automobilista 1, probably will never actually do anything outside the league racing environment. And yeah, I'm looking for this game as a secondary racing sim to augment my time with iRacing, where, you know, online racing is obviously covered over there. I don't need to worry about that over here in Automobilista 2, so therefore this game can shine in that experience, and that is why this game has become my preferred offline racing package. So now we get into the meat and potatoes. Let's start with the driving. First of all, you know, being on this engine, it always comes up. It's always one of the first things that gets discussed, the force feedback. I have had zero issue with the force feedback. You know, people instantly have flashbacks to Project Cars 2, and having 82 different sliders. There's like 4 different sliders. There's a bunch of different profiles that are included for your steering wheel. I selected the one that was for the Club Sport version 2 steering wheel, which is what I'm using. I turned the gain down a little bit, and yeah, it works. It feels great. It's communicative. I have no issues, no complaints with the force feedback. I understand what the game is trying to tell me, and that's the important thing. Now, currently, the driving itself and the way the cars behave is a bit of a mixed bag for a variety of different reasons. First of all, it's honestly not that bad. Don't take it as this is me trashing it, but rather I would like to see improvements made because improvements would make this game that much more compelling. In general, honestly, cars just aren't very stable in this game. It really is a case of constantly chasing the rear end, which I don't necessarily mind because I have no problem driving cars like that and I find it more fun and exciting. But understandably, other people would find this as a massive turnoff and very difficult to understand. And I think this is really a combination of several factors that don't often get discussed when discussing the whole physics discussion. And I actually want to go ahead and start with the tracks. I'm going to go down a little bit of a rabbit hole here, but Automobilista 1 Brazilian stock car Velo Park. It's a combination that hopefully you are very familiar with because it is so great, even though that track has no business actually being enjoyable, but it is fantastic. There's the left-hand turn underneath the bridge. At the apex of the corner, the road falls away on the inside. Therefore, you can carry way more speed through there, and it feels awesome. In Automobilista 1, it kind of feels like a smoother hill. You know, like you fall down into the corner, kind of something like the carousel at the Nürburgring. Here in Automobilista 2, that same exact corner, which is presumably the same exact track in terms of the mesh that you're actually driving on, it feels like you're driving off the edge of a table. You don't fall into that corner, you flop into that corner. There's also other instances of tracks that we know have been carried forward from Automobilista 1, largely unchanged and just brought into the new engine, where tracks have just been very excessively bumpy in this engine. For example, a few updates ago, they smoothed out the track surface at the classic version of Hockenheim, but before then, presumably the same exact version of the track that was in Automobilista 1, you could honestly see from the cockpit view, certain cars were going up and down like 4 inches, 5 inches, like 10, 15 centimeters for you metric guys out there. You know, like just Sebring levels of bumpiness. Like the cars just weren't absorbing the bumps at all. And when you have that issue going on, that is going to go ahead and affect the way cars are going to drive, because you're going to find it very hard to get stability out of a car when the suspension is going through absolute hell. Now, I don't know if it's a case of the tracks were artificially too bumpy and that was something that they could get away with in the R-Factor platform that was modded and tweaked up with Automobilista 1, or if it's an issue of the suspension just doesn't work the same in this platform and it can't handle those bumps, and maybe there's an issue there. But one way or the other, I think that the tracks are a large portion of the first impression that a lot of people are having with cars just not being all that stable in this game. One of the other things I must mention is the default setups also are contributing to this factor. And by that, I mean the default setups are somewhat weird, in my opinion, in that they don't feel like default setups at all, merely they feel like default settings. You know, for example, the Brazilian stock car, which is always one of those vehicles that I come back to in Riza games, you know, it's just got a different setup going on than what the same car had in Automobilista 1, where it's a nice stable car. You know, here in Automobilista 2, it's running a medium stiffness rear anti-roll bar. The Automobilista 1 car had the rear roll bar detached by default. The Automobilista 2 stock car, as well as a whole host of other cars here in this game, are running 0 rear toe by default. Pretty typical, and in fact I'd say it's more typical than not to be running just a slight amount of toe in at the rear end, because that's going to help give you a little bit more stability. There may be instances or reasons why you'd run 0 toe or actual toe out, but in general you're probably going to be going toe in at the rear, or at least starting there. And that's not the case here. So again, another one of those things that kind of makes me go, okay, part of this is also the setups that people are having issues with and why they think that the cars are just too unstable. So I do think there is kind of some issues perhaps with the suspension and the way that's working. I also think there are some issues with the tracks that are exacerbating some of the issues with the suspension, and then of course the setups just aren't helping things, at least on the initial impression side of things for a lot of people. This is again why I said that this game may not be in beta, but I still very much feel like this game is in beta and should be viewed as such. If you're not willing to go ahead and change the setup and try and dial in a little bit more rear grip to stabilize the car a little bit more, then this game probably isn't for you at this time. Now I want to go ahead and move on to something less incendiary of a topic, and that is AI. I want to start with the bad here, because it's going to very quickly take a turn here. There are some issues with the AI right now. You will see them do things that are absolutely stupid and look positively ridiculous. You will see them driving down the middle of the straights. You will see them driving with 2 wheels on the grass on the inside of the track way too often. You will see them just clumped up together like packs of 3 or 4 cars that are just all doing the same speed. It looks really bizarre. It's really goofy. It's something that needs work, and Riza Studios is aware of this and has been actively looking to improve these things. But I quite like the AI. I actually quite like them a lot, but I honestly don't like them. I can't think of many, if any, moments where I've actually been impressed by the AI behavior. You know, where it's been like, oh wow, the AI defended that corner there, you know, excellently. They just like had that spidey sense going on, you know, like you're racing an actual person, you know, like, or alternatively, you know, like, oh hey, they're passing me with great ease because I'm totally flubbing up one corner or what have you. I haven't really been impressed by the AI, but I haven't really had a bad time with the AI. I've actually found it really easy to get the AI dialed in any given configuration, and while there's still tweaking to be done in terms of the balance between the AI difficulty in dry conditions and wet conditions and changeable conditions, overall, like, I'm having fun, exciting races where I legitimately am having to give it a go. I think there's two big things I really want to hit on here, and let's start with rubber band. And I don't mean Need for Speed or Mario Kart style rubber band where you can't get away from them, but rather they seem to have an ability, and I don't know if this is actually going on for sure, but they seem to have the ability to understand the scenario a little bit better. And that if you're right up behind the rear wing of one of the AI, you will actually be able to noticeably see them brake later, which means that you're going to run into the back of them far less, as well as you're going to be able to outbrake them with great ease, far less easy. It really is like the AI manages the distance between the front of your car and the rear of their car actually really good. And this is one of the upsides of having cheater physics for the AI and not having them bound by the player physics, which is why that never mattered and never should matter, and no one should actually view that as a good thing. Shots fired. But, you know, they can go ahead and manage that gap a little bit better because they can just slow down more faster if need be, because they have unlimited grip if they are so coded. And then this, of course, ties into that one corneritis, which is what I call it when AI is really slow in one section, you know, one corner or what have you, and therefore they make themselves easily exploitable. Automobilista 2 is no different. Every single AI out there always has that one corner on a track where they just kind of stumble and they just are a little bit clunky through there, and very often it's pretty easy to just go ahead and take advantage of it and scoop and score about 82 positions with ease because you just go up the inside and pass everybody. I find that happening a lot less in Automobilista 2 because of that thing that I just talked about previously. While there are instances and examples and certain scenarios where I can think of I am faster than the AI, it doesn't nearly as often translate into I am just going ahead and picking off all of the positions in this one corner because the AI is completely inept, and I just go around them entirely on the actual racing line, and that is that. So this is my way of saying that I haven't really been impressed. There's nothing where I'm like, you know, firing up R Factor 2 on a well-sorted track, and it's like, oh, hey, the AI does all of these great things, and it looks fantastic to race with. No, it looks positively stupid at times. It looks positively ridiculous at times. And it definitely is one of those things where it's very clear that the AI is cheating, and if you're sensitive to that, that will drive you absolutely crazy. But for myself, as someone who doesn't particularly care and wants AI out there to push me harder and to get me into the race and immersed in the race and make me drive faster and have more fun, this AI has been working, I would almost say, fantastically, outside of scenarios where they do just need more work as a product of being beta, whether or not they are actually beta. The last thing I want to talk about before the end of this video, and just letting the sounds speak for themselves, the content side of things. Now, bearing in mind I'm running with the beta version, which has all the DLC and the Seasons Pass and all that stuff, so like anything just gets plopped into the game. I'm not 100% sure on everything that is and is not part of the add-on DLC content, but suffice to say, with everything in there, you cover a lot of bases. Automobilista 1 was kind of trapped in its roots to a degree, and Risa Studios was sort of aware of this and was obviously working to change this and adding more headlining content that had more widespread appeal. But now Automobilista 2, you know, GT3 cars at the Nürburgring, Spa, Bathurst, Silverstone, like, yeah, that's all a thing. There is no more Boxer Cup car because there is a Porsche Cup car. I want to go ahead and wrap this up before I just go ahead and let the sounds play and what the sounds do, and you all can make your own judgment from there. So Automobilista 2 has really taken over my offline sim racing, and honestly has taken over a lot of my sim racing. Like, this has been probably the only thing I've been playing for the last month because I've been having such an enjoyable time with it. And what it really is this package suits me very well, because I'm not someone who needs to have 9,000 different mods. For some people, that would be a deal breaker. I'm not someone that particularly cares about online racing from what I'm looking for from this game, because I have something else that's already covering that base. I'm not the self-satisfaction over thermonuclear tire models type of guy. I am not the type of guy that could ever just go ahead and say, well, I'm playing this racing game that is only GT3 cars and GT4 cars, and that's just going to be my thing from now on, because I I can't. I literally cannot. So that's why I say, this game suits me really well, and that's why I really enjoy it. But I can very easily understand why other people would have a perhaps differing opinion because they put different emphasis on one section or another, or alternatively, the way they view things is different than me, myself, and I, the three amigos. But yeah, I hear Classic Silverstone calling my name, so I'm going to go do that. Roll on the sounds. Hope you guys enjoyed. Bye.